beyond material forces, understanding constructivism in international relations. In the complex tapestry of international relations, constructivism stands out as a distinct approach, challenging traditional theories like realism and liberalism. At its heart, constructivism argues that the international system is not merely shaped by material forces such as military might or economic prowess, but also by ideas, norms, and identities. These intangible elements, constructivists argue, play a crucial role in defining state interests and shaping the patterns of international politics. Unlike realism, which emphasizes the pursuit of power, or liberalism, which focuses on cooperation and institutions, constructivism draws attention to the social construction of reality. It posits that states do not interact in a vacuum, but within a framework of shared understandings and norms that influence their perceptions and actions. In this view, the international system is not static. It is constantly evolving as states interact and reshape their identities and interests through dialogue, cooperation, and at times conflict. This constructivist perspective sheds new light on international relations, highlighting the importance of ideational factors often overlooked by other theories. It provides a more nuanced understanding of how states behave and interact on the world stage, moving beyond simplistic notions of power politics or economic determinism. By emphasizing the role of social interaction and shared understandings, constructivism opens up new avenues for analyzing international relations and explaining the dynamics of global politics. Challenging traditional views. How constructivism differs. Constructivism diverges significantly from established schools of thought like realism and liberalism by challenging their core assumptions. While realists perceive a world driven by self-interest and power struggles, constructivists argue that state behavior is not predetermined but rather shaped by the social context. This context encompasses shared norms, identities, and perceptions that evolve through interactions between states. Liberalism, with its emphasis on international institutions and cooperation, also receives a nuanced critique. Constructivists acknowledge the role of institutions, but contend that their effectiveness stems not merely from their material power, but from the shared norms and values they embody. These norms, in turn, influence state behavior by shaping their understanding of legitimate action and their own identity within the international system. The constructivist lens provides a fresh perspective on the evolution of international relations. Consider the concept of security. Realists define it primarily in terms of military capabilities. However, constructivists argue that the very notion of security is socially constructed, varying across time and context depending on prevailing norms and identities. The power of norms, shaping state behavior and identity. Central to constructivism is the concept of norms, shared expectations about appropriate behavior for actors with a given identity. Constructivists distinguish between two key types: regulative norms, which constrain behavior, and constitutive norms, which create categories of meaning and define what counts as legitimate action in the first place. Think of a game of chess. The rules of chess are not merely regulative, dictating how pieces can move. They are also constitutive. The rules create the very possibility of playing chess by defining what a knight is, how it moves, and how its movement relates to other pieces. Without these constitutive rules, there would be no game to regulate. In international relations, constitutive norms shape state identities and interests. For instance, the norm of sovereignty, a cornerstone of the international system, defines what it means to be a state and outlines the rights and responsibilities associated with that status. States act within the framework of this norm, respecting in principle the territorial integrity and political independence of other states. Institutions and states are a two-way street of influence. Constructivists view international institutions like the United Nations not merely as arenas for states to pursue pre-existing interests, but as sites where norms are formed, reinforced, and contested. Institutions can foster a sense of shared identity and purpose among states, leading to the internalization of norms that over time become deeply ingrained in state behavior. However, the relationship between institutions and states is not one-sided. While institutions influence state behavior, states also shape the development and evolution of institutions themselves. This dynamic interplay highlights the mutually constitutive nature of norms and institutions in international relations. The Cold War offers a compelling illustration of these dynamics. The intense rivalry between the US and the Soviet Union was not merely a clash of material interests, but also a battle of ideas, each seeking to promote its own ideology and worldview. International institutions like the UN became arenas for this ideological struggle, reflecting and shaping the evolving norms of the international system. The end of the Cold War, in turn, led to shifts in global norms and a reconfiguration of the international order. The constructivist perspective, by illuminating the interplay of ideas, norms, and identities, provides a richer, more nuanced understanding of international relations. It reminds us that the international system is not static but constantly evolving, shaped by the actions and interactions of states within a framework of shared understandings. Recognizing the significance of social relationships in the international system is essential for comprehending the complexities of global politics and for crafting effective foreign policy in an increasingly interconnected world.